The light from your phone is the only thing illuminating your face in this darkened room, a cold, blue glow that feels more like an interrogation lamp than a source of entertainment. You are scrolling, thumb moving with a rhythm that has become involuntary, a phantom limb reaching out for something you cannot name. It is 2 a.m., and the silence of the house is heavy, pressing against your eardrums, but it is not nearly as loud as the noise inside your head. You tell yourself it is just boredom, a mindless habit to wind down before sleep, but we both know the truth. You are looking for a reason to feel inadequate. You are hunting for evidence that everyone else has figured out how to live while you are merely waiting for your own life to begin. It is a strange, modern masochism, this deliberate act of opening a window into the curated lives of others just to watch your own sense of self-worth wither under the harsh, artificial sun of their highlights. You don't want to see it, yet you cannot look away, caught in a cycle of observation that feels less like connection and more like a slow, meticulous dissection of your own potential. You stop on a photograph of an acquaintance from 5 years ago. They are somewhere coastal, perhaps Italy, holding a glass of wine that costs more than your weekly grocery budget. They look radiant, untroubled, and infinitely more arrived than you have ever felt. In the span of a single heartbeat, your brain begins the silent, brutal math. You compare their peak to your valley. You measure your messy, stagnant reality against their carefully polished facade. It is not that you wish them harm, but their success feels like a quiet indictment of your own existence. You see their promotion, their engagement, their travel, their effortless beauty, and each image is a brick added to the wall of your own perceived stagnation. You tell yourself that their life is a lie, a performance, a digital mirage designed for an audience of ghosts, but the intellectual realization does nothing to soothe the ache in your chest. The logic is hollow. The feeling is visceral. You are trapped in the gap between where you are and where you believe you should be, and the digital screen is the mediator of your misery. Your internal monologue shifts, becoming a relentless prosecutor. It asks why you haven't written that book, why your apartment isn't aesthetic, why your social circle feels like a series of fading echoes rather than a vibrant community. You feel the weight of their timelines pressing down on your shoulders, a phantom pressure that makes it hard to breathe. You start to fabricate stories about them, that they are happier, smarter, more disciplined, and inherently more capable of extracting meaning from the world. You are becoming a stranger to yourself, judging your internal landscape by the manicured exteriors of people who don't know you exist. Every scroll is a vote of no confidence in your own journey. You lose the ability to appreciate the quiet, steady progress of your own day because it lacks the explosive, colorful energy of their feed. You are living in a constant state of comparison, and in that comparison, you are always the one coming up short. The tragedy isn't that they are living well, it is that you have decided their living well is a verdict on your own failure. The irony is that as you sit here, agonizing over the distance between your life and theirs, you are sacrificing the very thing you claim to lack, presence. You are not really here. You are not feeling the cool air of the room, you are not noticing the silence that could be peaceful, you are not resting. You are an invisible traveler in a dozen different digital lives, feeling the phantom pains of their struggles and the fleeting, envy-tinged ghosts of their triumphs. You have become a spectator to your own life, watching it pass by while you remain frozen, paralyzed by the fear that you have already missed the boat. That is the true nature of the trap. It isn't about what they have. It is about the terror that you are being left behind in a race that exists only in your imagination. You fear that if you stop looking, if you put the phone down and step back into the dark of your own reality, you will find that you have nothing at all. So, you keep scrolling. You keep feeding the algorithm your insecurities, and in return, it feeds you a steady diet of reasons to feel smaller, lonelier, and more disconnected than you were when you started. Perhaps, if you were to drop the device, the silence would become deafening. That is why you fear the stillness. To stop the cycle is to face the void, to acknowledge that you are indeed alone and that no amount of digital validation can bridge the gap between your soul and your surroundings. You are terrified that if you are not comparing, you are not thinking, and if you are not thinking, you are not existing. It is a fragile way to live, tethered to the approval of an abstract audience. But tonight, the truth is finally beginning to surface through the fatigue. You realize that you aren't actually looking for their lives, you are looking for an escape from the responsibility of your own. It is easier to measure yourself against their standards than to build a life that matches your own quiet, unspoken desires. You are trying to find comfort in the judgment, because at least judgment is familiar. At least it is a structure, even if it is a cage. You reach the end of the feed. There is nothing left to load. The screen goes black, reflecting your own tired eyes staring back at you. For a moment, there is no one else to compare yourself to, no standard to meet, no narrative to envy. There is only you, in the quiet, in the dark. It is uncomfortable. It is hollow. But it is, for the first time in hours, your own. You realize that the race you were running was never real, and the finish line was a mirage that receded with every step. The judgment was never theirs to give, and yet you carried it like a sentence, binding yourself to a prison of pixels. You understand now that you have been holding the keys the entire time, choosing to stay locked in a room where your worth is determined by the lives of strangers. The weight of that realization is heavy, but it is also the first moment of genuine freedom you have felt in a long time. You aren't behind. You aren't ahead. You are just here. And for tonight, that has to be enough. Their highlights define your darkness. Your silence is your only truth.